talking about this off air a couple days ago, just about the arc of Nikola Jokic. We talked about the draft last week with how 43rd overall was drafted during a Taco Bell commercial, and then how he progressed from being a role player all the way to being a two-time MVP and now on pace to be an MVP this season as well, and just the evolution of Nikola Jokic to this point.
Yeah, the evolution of Jokic because he came into the league and you look at his first 5 years in the NBA and you're like, that's pretty good. His first year in the league, he gets 10 points, 2 assists, and then he's right about let me see with rebounds. I'm blind here, sorry. Doesn't even average a block that first year. And then as far as rebounds, averaging about 6 rebounds a game there. So nothing too crazy. And then his next year, he goes from 10 points and 2 assists to 16 points. Still, and then he doubles his assists to almost 5 assists to 4.9. And then the next year, he goes from 16 points to 18. And then his assists go from 6. His rebounds go to 10 for the first time in his career. And then back to back years, he was in the running for most improved player. And then after that, kind of trading sideways a little bit. He goes 20 points, 19 points, and then both those seasons he had 7 assists back to back, and then 10 rebounds, 9 rebounds. And then his sixth year in the league is where he really had his breakout year, where he adds 7 points to his average. He goes to 8 assists, and then he goes to 10 rebounds. I believe that was the year they get to the conference championship versus the
Yep.
Lakers, ended up losing that year. Wins the MVP though, most efficient player in the league that year. And then after that, he goes to 27 points, 7 assists, and 13 rebounds, almost averaging a triple double there. Wins the MVP again. And then after that, you have the year where he ends up winning the finals. He finishes second in the MVP discussion, but he only averaged 24 points, still really efficient though, 10 assists and 11 rebounds, rounding out at a triple double for a center there. And then currently this season, a cool 25, 9, and 12. So it doesn't really happen overnight in the NBA like people think it is. The reason why you see players like Larry and Magic come in here, it's like, okay, they played 3 years in college, 4 years in college, and now this is one and done. It took him some time, but just the patience of Denver to stay with him. They were deciding between him and Yusuf Nurkic, ends up staying with Jokic, ends up being in the most improved player conversation to going to back-to-back MVPs, finals championship, and now he's pretty much wearing the crown for best player in the league, and it's not really that close. Like, you
Hmm.
can argue that it's close, but as far as efficiency, just overall weaknesses, he doesn't really have any.
Yeah, I think for him, he's the most dominant player too, because of the fact with a lot of these guys, maybe it's scoring that is their calling card, or maybe it's their defense. But for him, all the way around, the way he can facilitate, the way he can grab the rebounds, the way that he can score at will, he's hard to stop. I mean, we've had multiple games this year where he's shooting 100% from the field, most efficient player probably since peak LeBron. I think probably better than peak LeBron efficiency numbers wise. And we look at last year how close he was to winning his third straight MVP, something that I don't believe anybody since Larry Bird has done.
Yeah.
And then this year he's on pace to win another MVP. He's in that conversation with Jason Tatum, SGA, and Luka Doncic. And he's right in that mix for that one seed as well. So we talk about the evolution of Joker in this segment here, talking about how much he's been able to evolve. It really wasn't until his sixth year in the league when he started to really come into his own. Especially, he was a second round pick. He was a bit of a project. We have the same kind of similarities with Giannis Antetokounmpo as well. Two guys who are probably number one and number two potentially in the NBA. So seeing this now, especially in the modern NBA, where people are coming one and done out of college, where you don't have those 3 years like you had in Indiana with Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, all these other guys. Like these guys are taking longer to develop. The G League isn't quite as developed as some of these other minor league sports. So it takes about 5, 6 years to see these guys truly develop at this point. And you can see how much it pays off with Joker.
Yeah, and it pays off with Joker because when you talk about those averages in the regular season, you look at someone like Shaquille O'Neal, who's like, I average 28 in the regular season. So I knew I need to up that by 5, 10% and go up to something like 35 points. And they're not going to be able to see that coming. And then you look at Jokic, the past 3 years in the playoffs, he's averaging 29, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists. And then the year previous, it was a first round exit versus the Warriors when they won the finals that year, and he went 31, 5, and 13. And then the run to the finals, he averages 39 and 13. So he's pretty much averaging a triple double there. His winning percentage is pretty high for the playoffs. Got to a conference championship, won an NBA finals there, but just knowing that he's someone who's not just a regular season player, because all of his averages go up, the assists stay the same, but he averages close to 1 to 4 more rebounds, where he typically averaged 9 to 11 in the regular season, and in the playoffs it's 11 to 13. And then points, typically averaging about 24 to 26 in the regular season, goes to 29 to 31 points in the playoffs. So just
Hmm.
knowing how good a player is, it's like, okay, we just looked at your averages in the regular season, how do you elevate in the playoffs? And Jokic definitely shows up to the occasion, and he's someone who also knows how to pace himself in the regular season, where he's like, I'm not worried about the regular season. MVPs are nice, but really my focus is coming here, winning NBA finals, and then going back home to my horses.
Yeah, exactly. And having that team mentality too, because he knows that at the end of the day, what's going to matter is winning that championship. And I think they're perfectly poised to make that second and finals appearance and win another one. I think the only team that really kind of stands in their way is a team like the Celtics. And then we kind of mentioned a couple of teams in the West who can give them some trouble. But I think that they're by far the best team in the West at this point, with the length, with the size, with the maturity of all these players too, and the way he's able to elevate his game. So the Nuggets are a team that I think that are going to be great for a long time, and I think his ability to elevate his game is what's going to separate him. Because a lot of these guys, sometimes they don't always elevate their game, and if you're averaging a triple double and your assists, or you're getting 15 assists every playoff run,
Yeah.
that's going to do well.
And then when you're averaging your game in the